Hello, hello, hello. Happy Thursday. Today is July 22nd, 2021. And welcome everybody today. This is week 24. Holy crap. We're almost at the end of our陪读计划. Welcome everybody. Today we're taking a look at lesson 10, conversation 2, and conversation 3. Wow, we are on the home stretch towards the end of our, what's it called? Guided learning program in English. I'm so used to saying 陪读计划, saying guided learning program messes me up. Nope. Hi, Jerry. Welcome. Thanks for joining. Yeah, so today we're looking at our second personality, the frustrated person. In our third personality, the person who is just like, whatever, no strong opinions. And this lesson, in lesson 10, we're talking about stories and movies and TV shows. And part of the stuff we're talking about, stories, is also what you would find in books or comic books or whatever, any kind of media, any kind of entertainment. And so the words and phrases we're learning in this lesson are relevant if you want to talk about, things you like, stories you enjoy. Reading and watching movies and watching TV shows is a big part of culture and making small talk with people. So being able to use some of the vocabulary we are learning here together. If you get comfortable with this, you'll be able to fit in to a lot more conversations with Americans. I think I mentioned to you guys before, when I visit my family in the United States, a lot of the conversation is about media, like shows and movies and books people have been reading. And if you know how to talk about stories and describe the stories you like, you'll have a much easier time keeping up with those conversations, right? Time flies, right, Jerry? We're on the home stretch for this plan, or the guided learning program. Don't use your phone and talk to everybody at the same time. You'll get mixed up. So I have my phone ready to go with Kyle Moai. And so I would love if you guys join in and chat in by text if that's easiest for you. I love to hear your comments and see your questions. And if you would like to join in and talk on the phone or say hi to everybody, you can send a message to Kyle Moai. Let's see. Send Kyle Moai a message. And be careful. So last week someone tried to get in contact with me, and I didn't see it because it was on my Lukai Kyle page. So if you want to chat today, make sure you send it to Kyle Moai. Facebook is a little bit tricky sometimes, so that's the best place, and it'll pop up for me, okay? So today we're talking about stories and movies and books and TV series, stuff that you like. Last week, a couple people recommended series they like, or what was it, movies? We talked about, a story from your favorite genre. And this time, so conversation 1 was talking about genres, which are kinds of stories. Like, this genre is science fiction, or that genre is blah, blah, blah. This week we're talking about two different ways to talk about stories. One is the setting. So genre is the kind of movie, like maybe it's fantasy, or maybe it's fiction, or maybe it's science fiction, maybe it's historical fiction. There are a lot of genres. This time we're talking about setting. And setting, it's a little bit like genre, but it's separate. Setting is talking about the place and time for a movie or story. And so I want you to think of some settings that you enjoy. So if you call me today, I might ask you about a setting you enjoy. So I'll ask, is there a particular setting that you enjoy? And I might say, I love settings. I love stories set in medieval Europe. I think knights are so cool. So medieval Europe is the Middle Ages, 中世纪. And so I think stories about kings and queens and knights and all that stuff those kinds of stories to me are really interesting. Because there's a lot of people who are trying to become the king, or maybe someone's trying to poison the king. And then there are often knights who want to be honorable and they care about valor. Basically, they want to be good people. And so there's a lot of conflict between doing what's right and following the rules, and maybe bad stuff is happening. So I think medieval Europe is an interesting setting. Hi Delphine, welcome. Thanks for joining. One other thing. So setting was in dialogue 2, where you and Bob were discussing different settings for a movie and trying to figure out what would fit in the budget. What do you have enough money for? And then in conversation 3, you and Bob start talking about characters. And so characters are a very important part of a story. If you watch a movie and there are no interesting characters, is it a good movie? Probably not, right? Characters make a story interesting. So you don't want flat characters. You want characters that have some emotion or some sort of character art. Art? No, God. Character arc. A-R-C. Like they go from happy to sad to happy again at the ending. Or character development. Maybe they go from someone who's weak, but by the end they're strong and brave. So character arc or character development makes a story more interesting. So I might ask you about a character from a movie. So I might ask you, what is one character from a movie, show, or book that you really enjoyed? What makes that character special? Okay? So think about a character you really like. What movie have I seen, or what book have I read, and which character was really interesting? Maybe that character changed over the story. Or maybe the character was in trouble and they got better. So all of this stuff makes characters interesting. Or maybe they have an interesting personality. For example, I might talk about a character from a book called Dune, which I think I mentioned before. They're coming out with a movie, and I love the book. And the main character, Paul, from Dune, is a really interesting character. He comes from a noble family. Like his dad is a duke, which is kind of like a king. So he comes from a noble family, but he has to run away when his family is attacked. And then his quest for revenge is so exciting. So this character, Paul, has what we call a redemption arc, which we talked about in conversation 3, part 5, discussing the dialogue. I believe we talked about a redemption arc, meaning that his life was here. It was pretty good, but then everything went really bad, and then he redeemed himself. He made things better again. So his character arc went good, bad, really good. So an interesting character arc. Okay? Hi Bella, welcome. Thanks for joining in. So anybody who is interested in calling in today, we can get you on the line and you can share some characters you like with everybody. So, we'll do some calls, and also I have questions from some students that between calls, I'll take a look at those questions. And before, I think somebody is ready to chat already, but before that, if there are any new students here today, so because of the new guided learning program that's beginning next month, there are a few new students. And so if you're here today, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. This is lesson 10. So for you, you might feel like, oh, I don't belong here. But that's okay. Welcome. We're happy to have you. And also, if you have something to say, feel free to type a message. Feel free to give a call. It doesn't matter if you haven't done these lessons yet. You can try. If you try speaking, you'll just get better. And then during the next guided learning program, or the one you signed up for, we'll get to this part. And hey, I already practiced how to talk about characters and settings. So if you're a new student, you can give me a call too, okay? So don't be shy. I won't bite. Okay, so we have our first caller ready to go already. Who could it be? And can we guess what character might they choose? I think this guy is going to say he loves Doraemon. Maybe. Okay, we'll see. Who could it be? Could it be now? Hello?
Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Kyle.
Hi, could you introduce yourself to everyone?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Jerry. Nice to meet you on the air.
Well, hi, Jerry. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you again.
What's new with you, Jerry?
Nothing much. I've been catching up with your lessons.
Oh, great.
Recently, yeah. I've almost done all of them.
Well, good for you. That's hopefully you've been able to handle the pace, and yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the classes so far.
Yeah, it's very great and helpful.
Great.
For me. Yeah.
Well, that makes me happy. I do this to help you guys, and so if you feel like it's helping, I feel good.
Because you make so many details that only native speakers know, but even though we learn all of them like grammars from our junior high school teacher or high school teacher, they cannot just like you to elaborate all the things or all the background. I
Sure.
really like your lessons.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jerry. That's really nice of you. But enough about our lessons, enough about our course. How about you and what you enjoy? So we're talking about settings and characters. Is there a particular setting that you enjoy in a story?
I love stories set with adventures, and I like stories in cartoon forms. Can I say that way? I don't know. I don't know.
That's okay.
Is
So
that correct to say that, or is there a bad way?
Sure. So for setting is usually saying the place and time for the story.
Oh.
So what you said, you could, for saying you like adventure movies, that's kind of like what we were talking about last week. Adventure is a genre.
Oh, genre.
So I like adventure movies would be enough. And then if you like cartoons, you could say, well, I like cartoons or I like movies that are animated.
Oh,
Okay.
I love cartoons. I love story. Can you say that again, please? Sorry.
I love
forgot.
stories that are animated.
Oh, I love stories that are animated.
Right, great. And then,
Thank you.
now, I guess the question about settings can be tricky if you don't really care. But
Oh,
is there
okay.
is there a certain setting, like a place or a time, that you think is an interesting place for a story?
So for this question, I may say that I love stories set in
Maybe a
set
country.
set in the past or so in the ancient times. Yeah.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, all around the world, all the cultures. I love it. Yeah.
Okay.
And I like that. I like the I like traditional cultures from all over the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for you, what makes you interested in a story is if it's an ancient world. So maybe
Yeah, ancient world.
in any particular area of the world or whatever.
I would take how to train a dragon, for example.
Okay. What is that?
I like the Viking culture.
Okay, cool. So yeah,
I think-
How to Train a Dragon, you could say I like, well, the place is Northern Europe.
Northern Europe.
And there's a special name for where the Vikings come from, and that's called Scandinavia.
Scandinavia, yeah.
Yeah, so Norway and Sweden and Denmark,
Yeah.
those are all called Scandinavia, and that's where the Vikings came from. Cool. Yeah, that's a really interesting setting. The Vikings as characters are very exciting. There's a lot of cool stuff that they did in history. Great. Now, how about a character? Is there a character from a story that you really enjoyed, and why?
In my opinion, I really like the main character. His name is Hiccup. Yeah.
Hiccup.
Yeah, Hiccup. His name is very cute.
Yeah.
I think it might be his nickname. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and he
Now, how does he
was
change in the story or something like that?
Initially he was a weak nerd. I think so.
Sure.
And his father would like him to be a strong Viking,
A warrior.
soldier. I think so, or a warrior. Yeah, to fight dragons for their country. Yeah, so he was taught into a fighting dragon school.
Sure.
But even though he endeavored to train himself or improve himself to become a good warrior, he still struggled.
Okay. Sure. But then.
And then one day he found an injured dragon. I think, and he, I think it's a special chance for him to get to know the dragon, and the dragon was just injured, and Hiccup used his talent to help him and heal, maybe repair the dragon's wings.
Sure.
Or and finally
They became friends. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So for everyone, if you're not sure, this is the movie How to Train a Dragon. And the character, so yeah, like you described, the character has character development. He goes from a weak guy, and then he believes in himself and becomes a proud, brave warrior, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing today, Jerry. So yeah, I think that area of the world, like Viking Europe, is a really cool setting for stories. So thank you for sharing. And yeah, if I can think of any Viking stories, I'll try to let you know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jerry, and talk to you next time.
Yeah, talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Cool. Thank you, Jerry. So Jerry talked about How to Train a Dragon and the main character, Hiccup, who Hiccup has a classic story arc or character arc where he goes from being this weak guy that nobody really likes, and then over time he gets brave and strong and he ends up the hero. And so this story is about Vikings, and they are in Scandinavia. And Scandinavia is part of Northern Europe. And so if you look at Europe, there's this kind of like boop boop at the top, and that is Scandinavia, where the Vikings came from. Cool. Well, thank you very much, Jerry. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, if you haven't seen that movie, it's a lot of fun. It's cute, and it's a fun adventure. Let's take a look at what we're going to be doing next time. So this week is our second to last week of our guided learning program. Holy moly, right? You guys who have been with me for this陪读计划, you've been doing an awesome job. Thank you so much for joining. It's been a lot of fun. To say the second to last week, you can say it's the penultimate week. Penultimate means the second to last. And so next week will be a shorter week for you guys, or the lessons at the end of our course. You only have one dialogue left, dialogue 4. And this time we're still talking about stories and movies, but just to have some fun, you and Bob start to reminisce about some of the adventures you've gone on through our course. So in conversation 4, you're going to reminisce with Bob and get a little bit nostalgic. Start remembering what happened over all these 10 lessons. Now, there are other characters too, right? You met Sam, you met Chris, you met Jenny, and had a lot of fun, silly stories. So hopefully, I hope you really enjoyed the dialogues. I worked hard at them, and I tried my best to make them interesting, funny, and have a lot to learn. So I would love to hear your feedback on the dialogues, and what do you think was really funny, or what do you think was really interesting, or what do you think was something new that you learned? I would love to hear from all of you guys. And so our last dialogue is reminiscing with Bob, remembering some of the fun stories through our lessons, and hopefully you have some fun thinking about the stuff you learned over all of this time. And so you and Bob talk about making a TV series and trying to figure out what you could do and tell your story to the world. And I've had a lot of fun this past 6 months, I guess, and I hope you have. So next week we will have our final stream of this陪读计划. And then in August, we're going to jump right back to the beginning. So we have a group of new students who are joining. And those of you who are still around, you are totally welcome to join those streams. And you can use that as review and practice. And I would love to hear from you whether or not you are finished with our lessons. And so, next week will be our last week for this陪读计划. And then the week after, we will be starting the new one. So any new students who've joined this week, thank you so much for joining. And all of the students who've been around for a while, thank you so much for joining, and thank you for sticking with it. We're in the home stretch. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and we're almost to the end of lesson 10. Wow. You've been working really hard, and I'm proud of you. And thank you so much for coming on this ride with us. So let's wrap up here for today, and we can say goodbye, and next week we can take a look at what you and Bob talk about. And so we talked about genres, setting, characters, and next week we'll talk about some different kinds of TV programs and a few other types of stories we haven't touched on yet. Okay? So, also, this weekend there's a typhoon on the way. And so, all of you out there, especially everybody, stay safe, stay dry. If you don't have to, don't go outside. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay home, watch a movie. Watch a movie in English. Try turning off the subtitles. Try your best. And I'll see you guys next week. So thank you for joining. And I'll see you next time, where we'll take a look at Dialogue 4 with Bob and think about, what did we do over these long 6 weeks? 6 weeks? No way. Over these long 6 months. So, thank you very much for joining. Thank you, Jerry, for calling in. Those of you who didn't call in today, that's okay. No pressure. But if you want a chance, next week is your chance. So, seize the day. Okay? Carpe diem. Okay? So, see you next week, and thank you for joining. Stay dry out there, okay? Goodbye, everyone. Happy weekend.